Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Cyrus, and I want to talk to you about TurboGrafx stuff. I want to talk to you about the Analogue Duo. It's a console that I know a lot of people have been super excited for. I am somebody who pre-ordered this console and then actually ended up canceling my pre-order. What is this thing? Well, if you're not a TurboGrafx PC Engine fan, you probably don't even care about this, and if you're not into retro gaming, you definitely won't care about this. This is an FPGA system. It's like one of those mini plug and play type consoles, like the Super Nintendo Mini or the Sega Genesis Mini or something like that, but this one's a lot more advanced. It's FPGA, which means that it's a field programmable gate array, which means that it's hardware emulation. Basically, it's the hardware being programmed to run as close to the original hardware as you could get. I mean, that's the theory anyway, right? FPGA is a technology that's interesting. It hasn't been that well known until recent years, but it's actually been around for a while, since the 80s, I think. But surprisingly little research has been done about the ultimate longevity of the technology, like how long FPGA, especially more advanced FPGA hardware, will be around. Like, what is the wear and tear, and what are the expectations? Some people say it could last, forever. Basically, some people say 20 years is a pretty good expectation. Some people, depending on which FPGA solution you're talking about, have less favorable prognosis. But that's not me trying to crap on this. I've owned several FPGA systems, the Super Nintendo and the Genesis versions of this that Analogue put out. Those are really cool. But this one was hoped to be sort of the ultimate solution, the ultimate HDMI modern solution for TurboGrafx of all kinds. It supports the CDs, it plays the turbo chips and the Hue cards, it has all the system cards for the CD stuff built into it, it even does Super Graphics. It will let you use one regular controller. It's got an interface for the PC Engine format controller input. But they're, as awesome as it is, and as many features as it has, it's not perfect. And that's what I want to kind of talk about a little bit. One of the, I guess, defining characteristics of the TurboGrafx and PC Engine is that this thing is a weird conglomeration. It's always been strange from day one. PC Engine and TurboGrafx is a weird system to own, to collect for, and to play. It's complicated. It's kind of convoluted. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a lot of ways. But if you love it, then you love all of that. You love how weird it is. At least I do. So it's only fitting that the ultimate, or quote unquote ultimate, Turbo Duo PC Engine TurboGrafx solution would also be kind of weird, would have its quirks. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, is some of these quirks and some of the things that, if you're expecting this to be the out-of-the-box perfect, solution, like, okay, TurboGrafx, PC Engine, taken care of, done. I got it, done. Don't have to worry about it. Everything's perfect. There's not a better version. This is it. This is the God tier level, TurboGrafx solution. If that's what you're expecting, well, you might have some unfortunate surprises, which is what we're going to talk about. And I want to make clear before I really dive into that, I love this thing, and I'm so glad that Analogue has made this. It's amazing to me that people care about the TurboGrafx and PC Engine at all. As someone who owned a TurboGrafx 16 back in the day, and I owned two different Turbo Duos, I owned a PC Engine Core 2, and currently own this console that you're seeing video from, which is a PC Engine Duo RX. and recently had my laser fixed in my TurboGrafx CD for my actual TurboGrafx. So I'm a huge fan of this platform and console, and I'm super excited that people care about it and are getting a chance to appreciate it. So what I'm going to talk about with these little quirks and these little problems is just for your informational purposes, so you know what this thing currently is like, and so you can make some decisions about what you think you might want to buy, or if you haven't bought any of this stuff, or if you already own original hardware, kind of, you know, give you some thoughts about like what the good stuff and bad stuff is as far as this goes. Okay, so let me just jump in. All right, so there are some issues. Now, some of this stuff is getting fixed. It's already been announced that they're working on it. Some of it is, I think, newer issues that have been discovered by YouTubers, like GameSack did a really great video where, you know, Joe went through and identified a lot of this stuff. My Life in Gaming also identified. There's been several YouTubers who've done videos. So I'm crediting GameSack and My Life in Gaming for some of this information, because I actually don't own this. I canceled my pre-order, so I don't have the Analogue Duo. The only reason that I canceled my pre-order, number one, I needed the money. I couldn't really justify spending that money on this at the time. And number two, I already own my original hardware, and I have some really good emulation solutions through RetroArch. I think I have a good solution for my TurboGrafx and PC Engine gaming. I think I'm good with that. And if I was to buy this, it would have been so that I had that ultimate 100% perfect, you know, HDMI 1080p solution. But unfortunately, it looks like it's not really that yet anyway, or maybe, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's quite there. So let's just talk about it a little bit. Okay. So just going through these real quick, there are some issues that you need to know about. If you have an EverDrive, keep in mind that not every EverDrive will work on this thing. It's been reported that some of the older original model EverDrives are completely not working, at least so far. Any EverDrive that has a top that's attached to it, that actually has like that extra piece, to protective piece on the top, has to be unscrewed and taken off, because it won't fit into the slot for the Hue cards and turbo chips in this thing. So keep that in mind too. It's a little bit of a tight fit also, so if you're concerned about your pins or anything like that, something to be aware of. The Duo Tap or the PC Engine 5-player adapter doesn't work, apparently. Apparently you can use one real controller, and then you can have USB controllers and Bluetooth controllers, which is amazing. But apparently, from my understanding, the 5-player adapter that was put out for the PC Engine and the Turbo Duo does not work. I would assume then that means the Turbo Tap also does not work if you use a converter for that. So if you're planning to use real controllers, you can use one, apparently. And you can use a 6-button controller, but the Bluetooth versions, the Bluetooth controllers that have been put out by 8BitDo or 8BitDo, however you say it, they are only 2-button. They're not 6-button. So if you want to use a 6-button controller, keep that in mind. The Analogue DAC, which is a digital converter that converts HDMI to a signal that you can use on a CRT TV, apparently does not work. They are working on that, and compatibility is supposed to be coming in 2024. So if you're planning to hook this thing up to a CRT, you're not going to be able to do that, at least with Analogue's solution right away. So keep that in mind if that was something you were really looking forward to. Strangely enough, there's no built-in CD player. Now, it does play CDs and it plays CDRs, copied games and stuff, fine. But it doesn't play music CDs. And so the TurboGrafx PC Engine music CD interface is not present. That's disappointing. But Yeah, so I guess then it wouldn't play CD plus Gs like the console does either. Now, it is 1080p max resolution. It'll do lower than that, 720 and 480p, but it doesn't do anything higher than 1080p. So if you were expecting 4K, that is not happening. Not with this version. That would take, I guess, different hardware. I don't think that's something they can fix with a patch or something. So 1080p sounds great, obviously, but a lot of people care about integer scaling, and I don't know. There's different reasons why you might want 4K output. Maybe your TV is native 4K and the 1080p looks a little weird. It doesn't scale properly or something. I don't know, but just something to also be aware of. The operating system for this console is a little bit simple. It's simplified. If you have like a Super NT or a Mega SG and you're used to like the way things look with that, this doesn't look like that. The operating system is like a black and white, very simple operating system. It was actually apparently the same type of operating system they used on the Analog Pocket. So if you like that, then it's good to know. You're good to go. But if you're expecting something else, keep that in mind. It is a little bit simple. You don't have all of the functionality that you had with the Super NT or Mega SG, but it does have quite a bit. So it's not like a big problem, but it's just something to know. Open FPGA is not supported or implemented, so you're not going to be able to load different cores on this thing, and that's a huge disappointment. I mean, that's what they're saying. I mean, is it going to get jailbroken? Well, all the other analog consoles, the Super NT and the Mega SG, those two got jailbroken. Is this one going to get jailbroken? I don't know. They're saying it won't, but we'll have to see what happens. It does have that SD card slot on it, which we should talk about because the save states that you save for your games are what goes on the SD card slot. That's not for ROMs. That's not for loading ISOs. That's not for anything like that. So at least not yet. Maybe, I don't know. They're saying it won't, but who knows? But apparently there are some issues with the save states. CD games have issues right now. And if you're using an OG controller, like a real controller, apparently you can't use save states if you use a real controller either. So that's kind of weird, but again, that's what we're talking about. Weird little quirks here. The CD drive works pretty well. It's one of those like automated CD drives where you put the CD in and it feeds in, then you press eject and it feeds back out, kind of like the old school PlayStation 3 CD-ROM, or like what's on a PS5 or something like that, that type of CD drive. But there are some issues with that too. Apparently some CD games, the audio will hitch a little bit. Not really sure what's going on with that. There's some speculation that maybe they need to do a patch to improve the error detection on the CDs. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly what to expect there, but there is some slight little issues there. But overall, it does work with the CDs, like retail CDs or copied CDs. There's some issues also reading some turbo chips. Some Hue cards and turbo chips, people have reported they've had issues with, and it won't work, and they'll reboot the system, then all of a sudden it will work. I think that's kind of an interesting throwback problem, because God knows we've all had problems getting turbo chips and Hue cards to read on real hardware. Cleaning those heads over and over, trying to get it to work. I even have problems with my arcade system card on trying to use it on my Duo. So this is a common issue. I don't think it's necessarily their hardware that's the problem. I think it's the actual Hue cards and turbo chips as far as that is concerned. But there are some games that just aren't working at all. And some of these are like homebrew games. Some people have reported other games that are retail games, but there's some issues. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but so keep that in mind. If you've got some homebrew Hue cards or stuff like that, you might have something go on there. The volume does seem to be a little low, apparently. There's reports that the volume is not only is it a little bit low, some people said it might be like half as loud as it should be. And I'm not sure about that, but there also seems to be a slight problem with the sound not being equal on the left and right, and you're going to need to adjust this slightly. Like I said, if you want to know some more details about that, check out GameSack and My Life in Gaming's videos. They give some better detail about this sort of stuff. But there seems to be some slight issues with audio that you can fix, and some that you might not be able to. So, yeah. Some sound effects are also not coming out correctly. Specifically, they talked about Legendary Axe having some issues. Nothing major, just like some slight differences in sounds. Really not sure what's up with that. It's just not being 100% recreated properly. Full motion video games are a big problem right now, like Sherlock Holmes, It Came from the Desert, any of the games that have like full motion video where actors are speaking and voices are matched up to lips. Seems to be some problems with the CD-ROM losing synchronization very, very badly, where the game will, like, the longer it goes, it just gets further and further apart. And so, I don't know. They need to figure that out. I'm really not sure what's up with that. Arcade card Neo Geo ports seem to work well, except for Art of Fighting, which has a problem. It's not a major problem, but I do show Art of Fighting here in just a second. We can go ahead and skip over to... Or did I already show Art of Fighting? Yeah, we already did this, but I'll go back to it real quick. Just to take a look at Art of Fighting. Art of Fighting has a resolution change that it does in the game as you're playing it to simulate that zoom in and out effect that the Neo Geo does. See it right there? And on real hardware, it goes really fast. It's like almost instant. But apparently on the Duo, it has some issues. It doesn't want to work exactly right. So maybe that's something they can fix. Okay, we'll skip over. There we go. That's a little loud. All right, so another thing to be aware of is there's a special power brick that comes with this console. It's a higher power output. Apparently, you can't plug this thing into just any USB. It needs to have more power. It does use USB-C, but it needs more output than your standard little brick or the USB outlets that you have on your power strips or extension cords or things like that. So just keep in mind, you need to use their actual power brick. Just like the Switch, like the Nintendo Switch, it's USB, but it's more power than your standard thing. So keep that in mind. There's an issue also with rapid fire with the turbo. If you're using a real controller, like if you hook up your PC Engine controller or your TurboGrafx controller with an adapter to this thing, apparently there's an issue with the rate of fire getting kind of messed up. And I think people have had different results with that. So just something to keep in mind. And the only game that I know of that's going to be a major deal, I mean, there are probably a few, but the biggest one that I've always noticed when there's an issue with that is Splatterhouse. Because if you don't have access to the actual two different rates of fire on real hardware, sometimes the turbo doesn't want to work right for Splatterhouse, and certain other games have that same issue. So just something to keep in mind here. Another thing that I thought was a little bit disappointing is that there wasn't any like enhancement available, like emulators and also the other analog consoles like the Super NT and Mega SG offered some enhancement to the actual games, like flicker reduction, no sprite limits, stuff like that. And unfortunately, they didn't implement anything like that with this, which maybe they can add that with a patch. Maybe they'll put something in, but right now it doesn't have that. So if you're looking for something like that, especially if you're going to play like a game like R-Type or something, with that has a lot of flicker and stuff like that, then emulation might be the best solution right now. So that's pretty much my evaluation of the problems that I'm aware of with the console. What I will say is it is beautiful, and most of these problems, I would say almost all of these problems, I think can be fixed with patches. I think these are things that could be corrected fairly quickly and easily. I'm still kind of in shock that this thing even happened, because like I said, you know, this is not a console that a lot of people cared about until recently, until the past few years. PC Engine and TurboGrafx. I mean, in Japan, hugely popular. In North America, no, not so much. So I'm very excited that this thing has even, you know, even exists at all. I'm very happy about that. Oh, I should mention you don't get a controller if you buy this. So you have to figure out your own controller options if you weren't aware of that. But it does have built-in wireless connectivity for Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz. That's nice. And like I said, you can plug one standard PC Engine controller in. It has some drawbacks. It has some things that I think could have been, I mean, they're trying to get the thing out. I'm not going to give them too much crap here. But I think that some of this stuff could be fixed very easily and very quickly. That's a good thing. Overall, I think it's a great system for people to finally have something that's easy to use, that is able to play pretty much all the games, and give you a really good, clean 1080p signal. So I think that's great. Is this something that I would consider buying? Well, you know, I did have it pre-ordered. I canceled my pre-order. I put a lot of thought into that. And honestly, I don't feel bad about canceling my pre-order, because like I said, I have some pretty good solutions. I've got emulation through RetroArch using the Beetle emulator. Mednafin also is a fantastic emulator that will play TurboGrafx stuff. I have a PC Engine Duo RX that's actually running very, very well. And I have a TurboGrafx CD that has had a lot of work done to make it pretty much run better than it ever did even before it was released. So as far as my own personal preferences, if there was a problem with the video quality that I was getting out of my consoles, then I think I would be a lot more inclined to do this. But personally, I mean, what you've been seeing, the footage that you've been seeing on the screen for the gameplay, that's standard stock composite video coming out of my console. And I think it looks fine. I think it looks great, you know, and the composite color is a little bit different than what you would get with an RGB solution. And that is one thing I'll say. I give them credit with the the Analogue Duo, excuse me, is that they have thought about that and actually do have a implementation of composite color. So that's pretty cool. But I already have that. I already have everything that I would want that this thing can do, with the exception of a crystal clear 1080p output and super graphics support. Those are the only two things that I don't have. But I do have those through emulation. And emulation of the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 is perfect. Like, it is, maybe there's some tiny little thing here or there that's not perfect, but I've been doing a lot of experimenting and playing with it, and I have to say, if I didn't own original hardware, I would be perfectly happy using emulators. They have gotten so good now that it's not even anything you should worry about, because the quality is there. It reproduces things. It actually does some things better. It actually does some things better. Let me see if I can pull up. I've got another video here. Let's see here. Yeah. Sherlock Holmes. So this is running off of my PC Engine Duo RX, and I'll let you hear it and watch it for just a second.
You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant...
So what you're noticing, hopefully you're noticing, is The audio does stay in sync, but that's because the game, the video is not super smooth. It's smooth, but it's kind of hitches a little bit. Remember how I talked about the Analogue Duo hitching? That's like once in a while it hitches. But this, when you watch video, no matter what console I've seen or I've watched other people's videos and stuff, it does this. This is how it does video, full motion video. And it's fine. It looks great. I don't have a problem with it. You know, it's really cool that the damn TurboGrafx could even do that. But it's not perfect. But it does stay in sync. Now, when you play this through an emulator, it's perfectly smooth. You don't even get the little hitching. And it does stay in sync with the emulation as well. So my point is, emulators are fantastic. They've figured out how to get the best out of the TurboGrafx PC Engine. And I think that you can have a fantastic experience with emulators. Real hardware is like, I want to play on my CRT TV, and I want to use the real controllers, and I want to have the absolute most accurate experience for this console. So that's one of the reasons that I primarily play on original hardware and not on emulators. But it's good to have that option. It's very good to have that option. And I think that if you're looking for something similar to an emulator, that's what this is, the Analogue Duo. It gives you that crystal clear reproduction. It has a couple little issues, but I think this is a team that will probably fix most, if not all, of that stuff, with the exception of the hardware things that I think they're going to have a little trouble with. The hue card slot, it's unfortunate that you have to actually disassemble your Turbo EverDrive to get it to go in there properly. And I know some people have I've seen these little hue cards that have like a chip in them where it's like a little bit too tall, I think, to go in there. Like basically like homebrew solutions, reproductions and stuff like that. So there are a couple issues. But I think that overall, this is a really cool system and a really cool solution for a lot of people. And I think most people that buy this will probably be very happy with it. And if they can get most of that stuff fixed, then I would probably give some serious thought to eventually buying one of these things, if they're even still available at that point. But as it stands, I think I'm pretty happy. And if I was to buy this, it would purely be just as like, it would be an unnecessary opulence. I don't need it. And if I don't need it for anything that I would be playing, and for the future, I don't need it because I think emulation has gotten to the point to where I don't know that this is really necessary, but it's pretty cool. So if you're looking at this thing, if you're thinking about buying it, if you're giving it some thought, I would be very, very curious to know, what are your motivations for wanting to buy the Analogue Duo? Is it that you think that eventually it will be the perfect solution for TurboGrafx and PC Engine? Is it that you want something simple that's really high quality, that looks super cool? Is that what you're thinking? Is it more like a FOMO kind of thing? Like you're afraid you're going to miss out on this if you don't get it, even though you probably won't even use it very much. You just need to have it so you can, have it. I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts? Do you have any second thoughts? Or is there anything holding you back? Is there anything that has stopped you from pulling the trigger on it? Or do you think all this is nuts because you don't even like TurboGrafx? Let me know what you think. I love talking with you. I love hearing all the different opinions and thoughts about this sort of thing. So yeah, feel free to share and let's talk about it. Because you guys, there's going to be a lot more TurboGrafx coverage on this channel. And most of that's going to be original hardware. So unmodified. I don't do all that other stuff. It's just standard composite video. So if that bothers you, sorry. That's what you get here. But anyway, thanks guys. I love this console. It's my favorite platform. The PC Engine TurboGrafx is my all-time favorite, although there are plenty others that I love. But I will definitely look forward to sharing more of this and getting back with you guys real soon. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you later. Take care.